Sup people, Shiny Piece here. Well everyone, today is a very special day. It is the day that I pick my favorite Transformers show. For those of you who are new, I've already reviewed 4 entries in the Transformers franchise, and in my animated review I said I was going to wait to pick a favorite until after I'd seen Beast Wars, as I had very high expectations for it. And can I just say, I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. Beast Wars is the 1995 CG animated sequel to the 1984 cartoon The Transformers, more commonly known by fans as G1. As you all know, I love G1, I thought it was a great comedy. Beast Wars takes place several years after the Autobots' triumph over the Decepticons following their ancestors, the Maximals and the Predacons. After the Predacons steal an important artifact called the Golden Disc, which doesn't become that important until later on, the Maximals pursue them onto an unknown and seemingly uninhabited planet. To protect themselves from the heavy atmosphere of energon that could overdrive their circuits, they scan the world's life forms to create alt modes to protect themselves. Yeah, this one has them transforming into animals instead of vehicles, but it's fine, I got used to it in like 2 seconds. Alright, let's list off our Transformers checklist. Weak-ass beginning? Check. Terrible jokes?
I'm a cat. I don't know better than to trust a dog.
Check. And I'm adding 50 more check marks for every terrible animal pun. Annoying children tag-alongs that make me want to blow my brains out? No? Now that you mention it, I don't notice any humans. You mean I don't have to put up with aggravating children? I can just enjoy the precious robot babies? Guys, I loved this one, and there are so many things that I want to talk about. There's just one problem. Most of those things are, well, spoilers. So here's how I'll be doing this review. In the first portion, I'll give my generalized opinion on the show, and in the second portion, I'll talk about my thoughts on the events that happen later in the show, putting up a spoiler warning beforehand. Sound good? Good. Okay, elephant in the room, how do I address this animation? If I say that I don't like it, people will insistently harp on me, saying it was very early CG, but if I say that I think it holds up, people will think that I'm fucking insane. The animation, well, it has its ups and downs. It's not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting animation on par with Rhapsody Street Kids or Food Fight when going in, and it isn't anywhere near that level of terrible. But just because I've seen worse doesn't make it at all good. While I still think G1 has the worst animation, this one comes in at a close second. The first several episodes are probably the best animated, then it quickly goes downhill when it seems to think seizures constitute for fight scenes. The animation takes a lot getting used to, but being early CG, it could have been a lot worse. Being a Transformers show, Beast Wars has a pretty weak start. It has what I like to call the Modica Magica effect. It starts out pretty goofy and silly, only to then hit you in the face with a sledgehammer with some dark shit. Season 1 isn't awful, but it's so dumb. The stupidity can range from terribly done slapstick to, I'm not even kidding, the Predacons being defeated by a fart joke. A fart joke. Oh. Hey, Shade. What the fuck? I need time to think. Why are you jacking off to Blitzwing? Get out of my room! I thought you said he was a racist. While Season 1 of Beast Wars is the weakest out of the 3, it does a good job at introducing the cast of the show. We now have a completely new cast as opposed to the other recurring characters in the franchise with totally original names like Optimus, Primal, and Megatron. I think we've established by now that Transformers are bad with names, proven more by the fact that everyone else has a delightfully punny name based on the animal they transform into. Our main cast consists of the obligatory Optimus, the typical stern leader who really doesn't get that interesting until Season 3, Rhinox, who's never that interesting and honestly not worth talking about, Cheetor, who's essentially the Bumblebee of the show, and then we have Dinobot. Yes, I'm aware that instead of giving him an original name, like a pun on Velociraptor, they named him after the Dinobots from G1. I'm not gonna focus too much on that laziness because, quite frankly, that's the only problem I have with him. Dinobot's the angsty edgelord of the show who's obsessed with honor and pride, with a very interesting arc that's fun to watch all the way to the end. You get to see what type of character he is from the moment he appears in the first episode when he wants to become leader of the Predacons after he claims Megatron is incompetent for leading them to the wrong planet.
It's all wrong. This cannot be Earth. You are an idiot and an incompetent leader.
I've been saying that for 4 shows now! After he gets his ass kicked, he goes over to the Maximals with the intent to become their leader, but then settles to just be with them at all. The loss of Dinobot apparently affected Meg so much that he would go on to clone him. Twice. The first time was my personal favorite, as it leads to very shocking dark humor.
He was such a handsome creature. And quite tasty.
That wacky Dinobot! He's a cannibal. Dinobot is an interesting character to watch, as there's always a constant tension between him and the rest of the Maximals, leading to an interesting dynamic between him and Rat Trap.
Unlike you, I do not spend my time scurrying through sewers.
Well, a sewer smells better than your breath, Bronto Brain!
It's fun to watch until you realize that their scenes are just Scott McNeil talking to himself. Moving on to Rat Trap,
Bit tacky. You never had taste, did you, kid?
who's Brooklyn. Here, I thought making Blitzwing German made no sense. You still not over that tank shade? Why am I moving to the dark side? Good to know. Rat Trap is the comic relief, and get ready, you'll never believe this. He's a Transformers comic relief that's actually funny. I said in my animated review that I think Transformers has a shit sense of humor, and Beast Wars doesn't get a free pass as the butt of their jokes is having characters spout annoying animal puns. Cheetor. But Rat Trap is the only thing from this series that can legitimately make me laugh out loud. I don't know if it's just McNeil's constant "I'm better than you" performance, but every time Rat Trap is on screen, I never thought I would say this in a Transformers review, I am dying of laughter.
Yeesh! Where's my cyber violin?
I was a bit skeptical when I heard that David Kai was the voice of Megatron. The only other times I'd heard this actor in Transformers was in the English version of Micron Legend as Megatron and in animated as Optimus. While I thought he did a good job as Optimus, I wasn't particularly fond of his Megatron. I saw Micron Legend in Japanese, and I only saw one episode in English out of curiosity. Not gonna lie, Kai was probably the second worst actor in that whole episode.
Or is this one of your pathetic jokes, soldier?
Throughout the whole thing, his voice is incredibly garbled and monotone. Even when he's mad about something, he sounds like he's about to fall asleep.
This time, it's a fight to the finish. And I won't accept any of your lame excuses.
So of course, my expectations for Kai were not exactly what I would call high when going into Beast Wars. In Beast Wars, he does the best Megatron voice I've ever heard.
Victory! The maximal base is mine, yes.
Am I the only one who finds this voice kinda sexy? He delivers every fucking word with such a gay inflection, and he sounds like he just enjoys being an evil mastermind. That is so refreshing after his subtle and smooth voice in animated and what I expect to hear from this character. To make things better, he's a purple T-Rex. Is there anything they could do to make him even more awesome?
We Predacons have never abandoned our rightful goal of galactic conquest. No, we have merely been waiting for the right moment.
I have no idea what happened in between shows. I don't know if he was given different direction. I don't know if he was trying out something new. I don't know if it was just that one episode he did poorly in. But whatever the reason, thank you, Kai. Thank you for giving me the best incarnation of Megatron I've ever seen. Thank you for being awesome. Megatron also does a lot of other goofy gay things, like brush his T-Rex head, wear a dumb judge's wig for no reason, fool around with a rubber duck in a bathtub, just... How do you not get sucked in? He also seems to have a thing for the word yes.
Yes.
I don't know what it is about the word that fascinates him so much, but I'm not complaining. Could you imagine if he started out incredibly goofy and incompetent, but then turned out to have incredibly dark plans and be insanely dangerous? That'd be awesome. In Season 1, our main cast is unsure what planet they're on, however there are hints that it may actually be Earth. The payoff to this mystery is ingeniously well written, but I'll talk more about it when we get into the spoiler territory. How most of the characters are introduced would be through stasis pods that crash onto the planet. They always contain maximal protoforms unless the Predacons tamper with them in some way to have them join their side, most notably being Black Arachnia, but I'll talk more about her in Season 2. Speaking of which... Season 2 is my personal favorite, as it's where things get great, with the introduction of transmetals and showing it has the balls to kill off some of its characters. What I like about it the most is how it ties itself into G1. It could have just been a half-assed sequel to G1 saying, oh look, these are the main characters from the previous show's descendants, totally sequel-worthy! Instead, they actually tied their stories together to the point where it's revealed that the cast went back in time to a prehistoric Earth when the original Transformers were in a stasis lock and have to protect them from the gay T-Rex who's having a god complex going on. I absolutely loved the twist that it was always Megatron's intention to alter the timeline to kill the Autobots before they wake up. It gave the show a sense of tension and helped things to get much more investing. Season 2 ended up killing off a lot of characters from the first season to either replace them with others or to progress the story. Speaking of which, let's talk about that one episode that punched my heart out.
Tell my tale to those who ask. Tell it truly. The ill deeds, along with the good, and let me be judged accordingly. The rest is silence.
What is it with these shows killing off my favorite characters? It was this amazingly done scene and fight before it that made Code of the Hero my favorite episode in Beast Wars. Dinobot from the beginning was someone rational with a good sense of justice. He temporarily, and I mean temporarily, a whole episode, betrayed the Maximals because he thought it would be the best choice for his own survival. His actions caused Megatron to be in the possession of the Golden Disc, and fucking hell, he made up for it, protecting the future of the human race in one of the most badass ways you could ever come up with, followed by one of the saddest death scenes I've ever seen in anything. I'm not crying, you're crying! Well, Dinobot doesn't really stay gone for long, as Megatron would later clone him, again, into a new Transmetal Predacon. This clone, I think, is one of the dumber things of the show, but I'll talk more about him when I get to Season 3. Before I forget, let's talk about Black Arachnia, whom I promised myself I would talk about, as I really wanted to talk about her in the animated review, but then I forgot because I'm a dumbass. Black Arachnia in this version was one of the maximal protoforms that was tampered by the Preds, and is yet another bad guy gone good. Only instead of turning on her leader instantly through her own pride like Dinobot, she takes forever, no exaggerations, forever to join the Maximals, partly due to a romance she had going on with Silverbolt, a transmetal introduced early in the second season. I should start off by saying that I have mixed opinions on Silverbolt. I mean, he's not awful and he has a lot of likable traits, but he can be a bit generic at times. He's your typical well-minded good guy who wants nothing but justice for the world. However, that's clearly the point of his character, so I can't really be that mad. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy their romance. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a sucker for love stories. It was very well paced, and I found Silverbolt's overly dramatic affection played off of Black Arachnia's constant annoyance to be adorable.
Aha! Your inner maximal goodness shows concern.
Oh, that's it! Vital circuits this time!
Season 2 is also the introduction to a very important character, Rampage, a test experiment to recreate Starscream's immortal spark gone terribly wrong. He's so out of control that Megatron has to figuratively keep him on a leash, if you will, by keeping half of his spark. I wonder if this would work for dogs who can't stop barking at the neighbors. Just kidding, I wouldn't do that to Flash. Megatron ends up using the second half of Rampage's spark to make the Dinobot clone, and I am waiting patiently to talk about the stupidity of this clone, but we're not there yet. Rampage's existence leads into an intense rivalry with a post-Season 3 character, Death Charge, who wants nothing but revenge against him for killing his loved ones. It's an interesting dynamic, but it could have been explored a little more. It doesn't have a very strong payoff, as it ends with Death Charge and Rampage both getting killed, and then quickly forgotten about. It came down to Death Charge being introduced in the last season and not having enough time to really delve into this rivalry. But it's a great dynamic nonetheless. First, I need to talk about the scene where I officially started liking Optimus Primal. When Prime's body is damaged, they have Primal take Prime's spark so they can repair his body, leading to extremely badass line deliveries.
It's time to transform and roll out.
I'm sorry, I just orgasmed. Even though I didn't care for G1 Optimus Prime, I cannot deny how amazing this is. Nitpickland! Holy shit! Do Transformers go through reverse evolution? The Maximals and Predacons are fucking tiny! Leaving Nitpickland. The only way you could make things even more amazing is if you had Megatron get the original Meg Spark and turn into a pink dragon.
My power is greater than ever.
This is the greatest show ever. Now, even though I love Season 3, I have quite a lot of problems with it. For one, they tried to do a love triangle by adding Cheetor into Silverbolt and Black Arachnia's romance. That went nowhere. Hey, I have this great idea for my story! That is it. Okay, so there's this rambunctious kid who has to learn to be a team player in 2 separate back-to-back episodes. Wouldn't that be a bit redundant? No! It flows so well! To add to it, I'll have him learn that lesson again 2 seasons later after nearly getting his leader killed. It sounds like you're trying to make him unlikable. I am a genius! I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks this, but Cheetor is one of the worst characters I've seen in this franchise. In the beginning, I had a lot of high hopes for him. Sure, it was annoying that he had to learn the same lesson in back-to-back episodes, but he was the perfect candidate for a coming-of-age story, similar to Hot Rod, so I was hoping they'd do something with him later on. But instead of making him at all interesting, they have him learn the lesson of becoming a team player again after he already learned it twice 2 seasons ago.
You get some backup, then assist depth charge.
Backup. Uninstall that. No matter what some people may think, this cat can handle a situation.
After learning to obey authority twice, then nearly getting his leader killed, he still decides to be a fucking renegade. Who the hell thought this character was well written? The one thing that I'm mixed about in Season 3 is the ending. On one hand, it was so refreshing after the overly rushed and forced ending that I got animated. On the other hand, the final payoff is pretty dumb. Something you most likely would have forgotten about in G1, the Decepticon ship called the Nemesis, they turn in one of the most important things in their universe. Megatron gets his hands on it and starts killing everything, including his own people. Wow, man, you're a douche. When Rampage is killed by Depth Charge, the Dinobot clone conveniently gains the original Dinobot's memories, which leads him to betraying Megs, once again helping the Maximals to defeat him. Question, yeah, what the fuck? There's no reason why the Dinobot clone should have the memories of the original Dinobot. They're not the same character. Even so, Dinobot doesn't need to sacrifice himself again. He already had a perfect ending to his arc. In fact, what was the point to this Dinobot clone again? Overall, Beast Wars is amazing. It's exciting, it's fun, its characters are likable, for the most part. It ties itself in with G1 amazingly, and it kept me engaged all the way through. My high expectations for it were satisfyingly met, and I can safely say that it's my favorite Transformers show. If I were to list all of the versions I've reviewed, going from best to worst in my worthless opinion, I'd list Beast Wars, Micron Legend, Animated, G1, and then Prime. The question now is, which version will I review next? Well, for the longest time, I'd had my eyes on some of the sequel series. I'd originally planned to first watch and review Beast Machines, the sequel to Beast Wars, but to make things more interesting, I thought I'd review each sequel in the order I reviewed their prequels. I'm starting with Super Link.